Hello everyone. So I just have been um, I don't know combining and recombining all of my ideas about these cognitive functions, and well, I can't say I can't share everything that I have been I have been that I have been experimenting with in my mind, but I can I want to share this little thing that I came upon when I was trying to work these things out. And let me tell you that trying to think and rethink about this thing has always been a repeating occurrence since I know about cognitive functions. And it's almost like an obsession, I must say. But continuing to the topic, I would share about this realization about how I think Jung imagined these cognitive functions are laid out. Let me correct this. Okay. So I think when he creates this concept of cognitive functions, what he had in mind is not about perception and judgment. It's not the dichotomy of perception and judgment. It is more primarily a, a, a dichotomy between instinct and memory. What do I mean by memory and instinct? Instincts, in my opinion, what Jung what Jung said was introversion is actually an attitude that is more inclined to stick with one's own instinct, and this instinct is something that is genetic, all right? It's not formed in it in the journey of our life. It is not based on memory, which is more about extraversion. And this is about personal memory. It is about the world around us, what we learned about the world uh, all this time in our journey of life. And then what you have here is imagine a brain and a body. This brain has all of these all of these um, genetic component to it. They have genetic preferences for what they like, for what what needs affect them the most, what talents they have, things like this. So so this this instinct this this instinct can be categorized into different categories based on their functions. So this is what Jung means by cognitive functions. First, for example, we have the function that takes care of our needs, of our affect. And this is what Jung called the feeling function. And then, this is just for example, so you can see the pattern being played between instinct and memory. First, you have this affective instincts, this emotional instincts based on your needs. And then on your life experience, which is taken of course from your sensations, but we will talk about sensation later. Your brain is forming these new neurons connections, these new neuron connections, and that is formed. These neural connections are connected to these affective functions and to your instinct. And I think the difference between extraversion and introversion is when you stick to the instinct more rather than the memory of what's representing reality. So yeah, so you have these affective instincts that takes that that is, I think it is categorical, like also the function of thinking, but these affective functions, they are more about the our needs rather than the thinking function, which is not concerned with any of that. It is only concerned with ascribing things to their proper categories. But for affects, I think they categorize all of these ideas and sensations. They categorize them into groups based on subjective evaluations and our personal needs. I just lost my train of thoughts. affect. So yeah, I think this this affective and thinking works similarly, except that the affective function is more related to needs for survival, while the thinking function, which I call here patterns, it's weird because there is really many ways to see this, to name this. You could name this pattern based instincts as intuition, or you can also call it thinking. But I have listed another. So there is four functions that I listed here, which is affect, pattern, sensation, and impulse. Sensation, of course, is obvious, and affect is obviously related to feeling function. And then what we have here that I'm still confused with is the pattern and the pattern function and impulse functions. When I say pattern, what I mean is in the sense of archetypal images. So it is like a coordinates that were pre-made by our genetic. And archetypes well, you can say that these patterns are I think it's more appropriately associated with thinking, and then impulse is about intuition. But you can see it either way. But the reason I choose to see impulse as related to intuitive function is because I often see I often have got the impression that NE is this kind of impulsive generator of ideas. And I also think that sensation is not it's not just literally the sensation we are taking from outside world, but also about about reconstructing reality in our imaginations. So sensation, I don't think sensation is necessarily about the our real-time experience with the outside world. Of course, there are other there are other contexts where we can see sensation as strictly as real-time detector of experience of outer world. But I can also think sensation as something that is not necessarily related to external stimuli, but can also be related to 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 internal imaginations. Yeah. And so I just lost my train of thoughts again. Mm, so sensation. I think I have to pause for a moment. So yeah, I'm back. So when think about sensation and impulse, and you see some people, they seem to be fairly realistic in the sense that they focus on the the object in the external world, in external world, and then they are they focus on the object, and their ideas that are formed in their head is is more continuous, and and they are very cautious with their ideas, and they're forming it continuously. And then there are also some people who don't really glance at an object. They merely no, they glance on the object, but they don't seem to hold their their focus on the object. They seem to be constantly their perception is their perception is not controlled by their eyes, but their eyes is controlled by this constant juggling of ideas in their mind. And then once they found there's this sort of realizations that's happening in their mind in in short bursts, and then when each time they are done with those teaching of ideas, there seems to be this burst of impulses. So this is why I think uh, extroverted intuitions is kind of, or I should say, extroverted intuition and introverted sensation axis is related to this burst of impulses. Which is also called gangly movements in cognitive typology, in voltology. So this kind of impulse is not controlled. It is merely momentary impulses. For control to happen, there needs to be an intervention from the judgment functions. So yeah, I think what I mainly wanted to share is the idea that maybe introversion is related to instinct. So a person is more instinct oriented, and memory is related to extraversion, which makes a person more more life oriented, more environmental oriented. And by memory I really mean personal memory, not really any other kind of memory. But there's no other kind of memory that is memory. So yeah, I just mean memory. So that's all. I think I'll see you next time.